Hey everyone, welcome to our small footprint. My name is Nyssa, and if you're new here, we are a family of 8 who live off-grid in Australia. There's only 7 at home at the moment though. It is Monday morning and I have no idea where I ended the last video, so we're starting this one fresh and hopefully that all works out. I have already been started in the kitchen and I just haven't turned the camera on yet. It is, as I said, it's Monday morning. Darryl does his streaming for his D&D game on Monday mornings, which means I have to try and avoid that space. And the kids with their new schooling the Mondays are quite busy with their online classes. Now, because it's a hybrid school, they don't have to officially attend all their classes. We can just do the work and submit it. But for the moment, we're requiring them to attend most of the classes so that they get a bit of an idea of what it is that the classes offer and whether they want to use them or whether they would prefer to work through things with me. So for the moment, they're attending 98% of their classes, which means that it was an early start for a Monday, and we had to turn the generator on because we're having some issues with our solar at the moment, and then when all the computers went on, and anyway, it's been busy. So I have done a few things this morning so far. I got Sunday's video up, whoops, and then I've been doing other stuff. So I baked bread yesterday, so I'm going to sort out lunch for the kids soon. It's 10:30, so what I've been doing is working on some of that. I also, though, just trialed a batch of those marshmallows using sweetener syrup, but I don't know how it's going to work. It seems to have crystallized a bit rather than set up. I'll have to do some Googling on different recipes if this one doesn't work, but it was an idea, was for Darryl and I to be able to have some sugar-free marshmallows. We will see how that goes as it sets up. The other thing I did was I just made the kids a bit of a cashew cheese spread type thing that I'm doing because I thought I would turn those bread rolls that I just made the kids yesterday into like pizza subs, because we've got all this pepperoni to use. So a lot of people said I should look up pepperoni, keto type pepperoni things, and one of the things that I saw was pepperoni cream cheese bites that are baked, which I think would be really nice. So I thought I would make them up for Darryl and I, but I also thought I would quickly make up some cashew cheese spread for the kids to put on those bread rolls, and we can grill them or whatever, and they can have like a cheesy pepperoni pizza sauce type sub thing for lunch. So that was the idea. So this is basically just some roasted cashews, nutritional yeast, some boiling water, a bit of garlic, salt, all that sort of thing. Just all poured into the blender and blended up till it was fairly smooth. I also need to grate some cheese. So that one is sorted for the kids. We'll just let that cool down now and we'll get that out of the way. But I do have some cheese here that I need to grate for Darryl and I to try the... Actually, I don't, because I'm doing cream cheese, aren't I? So I don't know why I thought I needed to grate, but there is ones where you can cook the chips in, so I might do some of those as well. So I thought while I had everything out, I'd pull my grater out for the Thermomix and get some cheese grated as well, and then it can go in the fridge to be used for other things while I'm letting these pepperonis soften. So yeah, I need to grab a bowl for the Thermomix. Alright, so this is one of the reasons why I wouldn't give up my 6 for a 7 at the moment too, just as a side note, is because when you purchase a 7 you can't get spare bowls yet. They will eventually, but yet you can't. But also all the attachments that I have are suitable for a 6, not a 7. So even though I have earned my 7 and I will have fun with something new, I'm not giving up my 6. And I probably wouldn't have bought a 7. I probably would have taken advantage of the really good deal on the 6s at the moment with all the extras rather than purchased a 7. That would have just been my thing. But that's personal preference and all that. So I've got the grater bowl in there. I've got the disc in. You've got large shreds, small shreds, or slicing. We want to shred it in, and we're going to do the large shreds. So we do that. We put the lid on. I did find my plunger that I couldn't find the other day when I was doing the zucchini, so that's neat. So we're going to put it onto the grating, and I'm just going to grate some of this cheddar. This is just the Coles brand cheddar cheese, but we really like it. It's cheap and it's really tasty. So I'm just going to grate some of that up to go in the fridge. grated cheese that easy. So there's a few little chunks left in the lid, as there always is. That just means I get a snack. So I've got grated cheese using for that. Alright, so I've got these here. I just opened a jar of the pizza sauce, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a good smear on each piece, and then I'm going to grab some of the cheese and smear some of that on each one as well. So I'm just going to use this same spoon, and I just won't use it in the pizza sauce again. Smear that on there, and then I'm going to top them all with the pepperoni and just lay them on the baking tray to cook up like open pizza sub type things. Got the oven preheating at the moment. Bread was cooked fresh yesterday, so it's still pretty soft anyway. And we've got all this pepperoni to use up, so do it like that, and then I'll toast them up, and hopefully the kids will enjoy them. So then something else I saw was basically just, now I love salami with cream cheese anyway, and this would be a similar sort of a concept. So all we're going to do is we're going to spread some cream cheese on the pepperoni. Now they used everything bagel, and I still haven't done my spice order because I am so slack, but I'm just going to put a tiny sprinkle of vegeta on it, lid on it, and put it on the baking tray. And apparently we bake them and they taste good, so I'm just going to give it a go, get a bunch of these done. I really need to find something to sprinkle that vegeta on my fingers. Tiny sprinkle of the vegeta, which is basically just seasoned salt. I actually pulled my card up for the spices order this morning. I will get it done today, because I really need to, basically. Tiny sprinkle, just like that, lid on, down. So I don't know how many I'll do of these, because I can't see them being bad, to be honest. Like, it's pepperoni and cream cheese, how can that be bad? I actually do have an abundance of eggs at the moment too, so I probably should do some boiled eggs at some point today, as a snack for the kids, maybe afternoon tea for the kids. But okay, so the other thing I was going to try was with the grated cheese. So we have the grated cheese here, and then I'm going to just rearrange. The other snack that a lot of people did was they put a little bit of cheese in little piles with a pepperoni on top and let it get crispy. Now nearly all of this is cooked at the same temperature, but potentially different timelines. So I'm just going to do half and half. So I might do 6 of these and then do another row of the cream cheese ones, and we will just make a call when we're cooking them as to how long each one takes. So that's what I'm going to do. Alrighty, so these are the kids' pizza boats. They come out and grab them, and if they want more I can always cook up a bit more afterwards as well, but for the moment this was them, all nice and crispy around the edges but nice and soft in the middle. This is what they look like out of the oven. So it's a lot of grease. I wonder if these ones needed to sort of be up on something to crisp up, like up on a rack or something, but I think it'll be tasty anyway. And these look like they're crisping up, so as they cool I think that they should be, you know, like chips. So let's see how they go anyway, but that was just the idea as a treat. All right, so it is 5 o'clock. I'm running late. Darryl and the twins are still on their way home from Toowoomba after a medical appointment, so no real rush anyway. But I pulled a bunch of different things out of the freezer and stuck it in the fridge to defrost, and pretty much none of it is properly defrosted. One of the 5 kilo bags of chicken thighs, I'll be able to pull enough out of the top to cook up. So I'm going to do that. So I think I'm just going to do some risotto for the kids, the baked risotto, and then that way I can get this going, and it only takes sort of 40 minutes all up, and I can then cook the chicken while this is doing its second half of the cook in the oven. So I'm going to just get some onion, some garlic, and a bit of bacon cooking off in my cast iron pan. Sweat it all off. Alright, so we're just going to sweat all this off, and then we will add stock. And I'll get the oven preheating as well. The marshmallows turned out, but they have this, they're a little bit like a pavlova almost. They have like this crust on the top of them, so it'll be interesting to see how well they dissolve, but they taste right, so we will see how they go. I just realized I didn't have this recording, so I cooked the onion and stuff off till it was translucent, and then I added about 12 cups of water and then about a teaspoon worth of chicken bouillon per cup, and I'm going to bring this up to the boil, and then I will add my risotto rice, and I will throw this whole dish into the oven, and then I will work on the chicken. Alright, so it's come up to a boil. Now we've got about 12 cups of stock, so we're going to go for about 6 cups of arborio rice. So this is a half cup, 3, so that's 6 cups of arborio rice in there. And now we're just going to put the lid on it. You'll just put the lid on it and throw it into the oven and hope that it doesn't overflow everywhere on me, because I think I overdid the water a little bit. But anyway, so this goes in the oven for 35 minutes and I'll get the chicken sorted in the meantime. I've just realized my math was completely off there. I normally do 4 cups of rice to about 12 cups of water, which ends up being about 1 kilo of rice. So we will hope for the best. It's been a really long day. So anyway, I need to get some chicken done. I just diced up some chicken thighs. As I said, it was just what was on top that was defrosted, and I'm just going to sprinkle some of the bacon seasoning over it, and I'm just going to coat it and then fry it off in a bit of oil, and the kids can have this on top of their risotto. Darryl and I'm not sure, there's still some rump in the fridge, so I might pull that out and just cut some pieces off that for us, since we're not eating the rice. So of course the gas ran out on the oven just while I had this in the oven, but it looks like it might be alright, and it looks like we've done okay texture wise. So now we normally just add a lump of ghee or Nuttelex or something, and then put the lid back on it. Let me just check the rice is cooked. Perfect, which I'm very shocked about. So that is done. Now we're just finishing the chicken up for it, because I had to turn the oven back on. Alrighty, it is Tuesday morning. We're going to get lunch started. The kids are doing schoolwork. So we've got an abundance of eggs at the moment, but most of them were a little bit dirty because we've had all this rain. So I've just given them all a quick scrub, and we're going to get these on just to boil as boiled eggs for today and the next couple of days, whatever. I did a quick float test on all of them and things like that, just to make sure that everything was nice and fresh for boiling and stuff. So anyway, we're going to get these boiled. I like to bring them up to a boil and then time them for 4 minutes once they're at a boil. I'm also going to get some fish out for lunch today, because I defrosted it and we haven't used it yet. It needs to be used, so we can have some fish. I'll probably do a batch of mayo. The kids have leftover risotto from last night that I'll probably serve with chicken wings for dinner. That's the plans for the meal. So this video sort of is a bit of a what we eat in a week, I think. I have some other stuff planned throughout the day, but I think I'm going to put that as a different video. So I'm going to get these on for lunch. So all I've got here is the batter that I'm going to use. Now, I do have some rosemary citrus salt. Now, this was made with rosemary from the garden, some lemon peel, some salt, all dehydrated and ground up, which will be really nice with the fish, a bit like a lemon pepper type thing. And I might put a little bit of pepper on these as well. But basically, I defrosted this. They're fillets of fish. All I'm going to do is pan fry them for lunch with those boiled eggs, and I'll make up some mayo. Super simple, but nice and filling, especially for Darryl and I, who the high protein is important. So I'm going to heat up a pan and we'll do that. Okay. All right, so this is the first time I've bought the batter from Aldi, so we're going to try this. I know that some people really don't like the idea of the origins of them and stuff, but honestly, if we want to eat fish other than like tuna and stuff, then we have to take some choices there. So I've just sprinkled it with a little bit of that citrus salt, and I'm just going to sprinkle it with a little bit of pepper, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to do it face down in the pan just like this, just grilled and flipped and eaten just like this, and we'll get a good sense of the flavour of it and stuff, though we are going to make some mayo too. So super simple, just a bit of grilled fish, boiled eggs, and we made mayo. So all right, I've been canning all afternoon, so I'm getting to dinner late, and some of these wings are still frozen, which is really frustrating. It's great that my fridge stays that cold, but it's also really frustrating that I defrost things with the intent to cook them, and they're not defrosted by the time I want to cook them, but we will manage. So I'm running a bit late, but what I'm going to do is get these wings sorted. I need a big bowl. All right, so I'm going to cut all the tips off. These will go to the dogs, and all the other drumettes and that will go into this bowl while I cut them up, let them defrost a little bit more, and then we will do the normal baking powder trick on them before roasting them. So Sonnet could grab me a couple of baking trays and the racks over the top for me. I think I've only got, so there's 2 bags here. I think I've only got 1 bag left of these wings from that bulk meat order. I have really enjoyed them. I know some of the kids got sick of them for a bit there, but I really enjoyed them. So I definitely will be looking to buy bulk wings again. The wings, so these are all cut up. Now all I do is I sprinkle them with a generous amount of baking powder. This is 4 kilos of wings. That's probably 2 tablespoons of baking powder. We want a coating on the outside skin of all of them. And this is going to help for the water to, any sort of liquid to evaporate and give it a bit of a crispy skin, and then we'll glaze them afterwards. Now you can season them now with the baking powder, a bit of salt and pepper and that sort of thing. I actually have stopped doing that because I like to put the flavoured glazes on them and they just don't need it. So I've got them coated lightly in that baking powder. I've got a rack over a baking tray, and then I'm going to put them skin side up. Now you can put them really nice and close together because they're going to shrink as they cook. So I want to be able to fit all of these on 2 trays. So I put them fairly tight on the tray. And then they will go in the oven for about 30 minutes. And then I will glaze them, and they will cook for a further 20 odd until they're cooked through. So just like that. And then the kids also have the leftover risotto that they can have as well. And Darryl and I will just have the wings. Not that I've been superbly good with my diet lately, but you know, I'm happy to eat wings as a meal. So Sonnet is doing some dog training thing through extracurricular activity at the new distance ed school, and so she's trying to use the wing tips to get the dogs to do what she wants to do. Apparently some of the dogs are, you know, brighter than the others, which we knew. So anyway, I'm just going to fill these trays, put some more on the other one if I need to get them all on a tray, and get them in the oven, seeing as I'm running late today. All right, I'm going to mix up the glaze. I've got the Nando's Peri Peri medium sauce that I really like, the end of a bottle, and then I managed to find a really big one at Costco, which was neat. So a generous amount of that. And then I add some maple. I know I normally use keto maple, but I don't have any. But just a good slug of maple in with the marinade, and we get that sticky, spicy glaze. So they should be ready to glaze now, so I'm going to pull them out. All right, they're not as brown as I'd like, but it's time crunch and all that, and so they're going to be fine. So all I'm going to do is glaze these and get the other tray done the same way and get them back in the oven, and they will crisp up even further. I probably went a little light on the baking powder, to be honest. It looks like they could have done with a bit more because that helps with the browning, but I have gone a little heavy on it a couple of times, and Sonnet doesn't like the texture of it, so I was going a little bit light for her benefit, but I think I prefer it the way I normally do it. So anyway, these will still end up tasty, sticky, sweet. So that's what I've done with those, and I'm just going to do that with the second tray, and then they'll sit in the oven for another 15. And this is what they look like done. So not quite as crispy as normal, but no one wants to wait, so this is dinner. Alrighty, Wednesday lunch. The kids are going to have some toast with some of the baked beans that we just canned to give them a go, and some fried eggs. Some kids like their beans heated, some like them cold, so that's going to be up to them. So I've got pans heated. I'm just going to toast the bread. Now Darryl went into Toowoomba for a doctor's appointment, and they had, and he grabbed one of the food hampers while he was in there to check them out. I didn't film it, didn't share it. We don't do it very often, and it was night time by the time we got back, but it had this French stick in it. The kids have finished all the baguettes that I made the other day, so I'm just toasting up some of this for them to have with the lunch. But that's where this came from. So just going to toast that up first. I'll fry the eggs off, and then if they want to heat the beans, they can. So I just did a tray up for the kids to serve themselves. Their classes are a little bit all over the place compared to how we used to have everything scheduled at a set time and everyone sat down to eat and stuff at the same time. We haven't quite got that going at the moment. So I just did a platter up, and they can come and serve themselves and make more if that's what they want. So that's the kids' lunch. And Darryl and I, there's some rump left in the fridge, so I'm probably going to cut some slices of that off and fry some eggs up, and we'll just have some steak and eggs for lunch.
And coffee.
And coffee, yes. Darryl's making coffee too. Alrighty, and that's just ours. A couple of fried eggs, bit of rump steak. That's going to be lunch today for us. Alright, it's 5 o'clock Wednesday. I have not come out to the kitchen other than to make the lunch that I did. So dinner tonight's going to be really simple. I've got a bunch of potatoes I'm going to steam and mash. And then I'm going to use a bag of frozen vegetables as well. And then in that hamper that I was talking about that we got from Food Assist in Toowoomba, they had some packets of vegan plant-based sausages. The kids are keen to try them, so cool. And so I'm just going to cook up those with some, did I say a bag of frozen steamed veg as well? I had to stop because there was dog issues. So yes, I'm just cutting up some potato nice and small so it cooks nice and fast because, you know, I'm running late as per usual. And we will do steamed veg and the sausages. So when I pull the sausages out, I'll show them to you, but I'm just going to finish cutting up these potatoes for mash first. I'll probably do a bit of gravy for them as well because who knows what the sausages taste like. I don't even know what they're made of. I'll have a look when I pull them out, but the kids want to try them. We like to not waste food, so you know, we will cook them up and they'll get eaten. Alright, these are the sausages. They are beef chorizo sausages. So says cooking 8 to 10 minutes till internal 74, soy based. Got some cognac flour, beetroot powder. Carbs are 6.8 grams per 2.5 or 5.5 grams per 100, which isn't too bad. Protein of 12.8 per 100, so there's nothing wrong with them. They're just fiery and flavorful apparently. So we ended up with 4 packets. There's 5 sausages in each. And the use by date is on them is today. I don't know. They're plant-based. I can't see how they could really go off as such, but it might be worth frying them all up and then storing them in the fridge, and then they can always reheat them over the next couple of days rather than risking them going off in the thing. So I might end up just cooking all 20 of them. They can eat what they want today, and then the rest can go in the fridge, and they can have it tomorrow, maybe for breakfast with some bacon and some baked beans or something. And this is the veggies of choice that we use, and I do about 500 grams of these, about half a bag, about 100 grams per child to go with the mashed potato and the sausages. So I will show it to you when you come back. And I did just find, I forgot that I bought this, found this in the freezer. I got this because there was big flyby points on it, so I might just cut some of that rump really thin and cook some of this up, and Darryl and I will just have this with a bit of the rump and butter for dinner. So we might try the sausage out of curiosity, but yeah, it doesn't really appeal to me. So I'm going to get some of these onto steam and start frying up the sausages. The sausages are browning up nicely, but they are a bit more fragile. Whatever has been used as the casing on them is coming away, but they're holding the shape generally speaking. So I think these are pretty much done. So I'm just going to turn these down and keep them warm while I mash the potatoes and stuff, but they look alright. So up to the kids, and I've just got some of our Maggi, super not great for you but super tasty gravy going, and then those the broccoli as well at the moment. So this is what the kids' plates look like. A couple of sausages, mashed potato, steamed veg, and they can have more if they want, but we tend to do a first serve and then they can come back. Alright, Thursday lunch. We're going really simple today. We're babysitting a friend's toddler, so that always makes the day a little bit more challenging. We got lettuce with that hamper that I was talking about, so there's some lettuce and some cherry tomatoes in the fridge, and I've still got a bag of these tenders, so I'm going to cook up these tenders and some potato gems, which also were in the freezer, and the kids can have these with wraps and salad and stuff for lunch. So I'm just going to put them in the oven and then we'll sort that out. I might need to make some mayo or something. All right, and for afternoon tea, I've got sweet potato steamed, so I'm going to do some sweet potato brownies. The last ones weren't quite as good as the first lot, so I'm still, I don't know. So we're going to do, these almonds are fresher, so it might purely have been that the almonds were a little bit stale and so they were a little bit dry, but I'm just going to assess it as I make the almond butter, add a bit more fat to it if need be. So doing the 400 grams of almonds, 4 eggs, though I'm using turkey eggs, so I'm just going to use 3, and 400 grams of the sweet potato and that sort of thing. So we will see, but we've got these gorgeous turkey eggs, so I'm going to use those 3 instead of 4 standard size eggs. So I added about 50 grams of oil to this because I just wanted it a bit wet, because I do think that store-bought almond butter versus freshly made right now ends up being a bit too dry, and that's why we had a little bit of an issue with the brownie last time. It was just that little bit drier, so this is definitely a wetter consistency. So took about, 4 by 30 to 45 second increments, and that 60 grams of oil, and I'm happy with the consistency of that. So we've got 400 grams of almond butter. We're going to add can you grab the maple syrup for me too, please? Yeah. 400 grams of the sweet potato, and then we've got these big turkey eggs. So I'm going to do 3 of the big turkey eggs. Oh, they got tough shells on them.
Look at the eggs.
So these are huge. All right, so I've got those 3 eggs. We're going to add our 200 to 250 of maple syrup. And then we're going to add, what's 2 full brownies. The 10 grams of baking powder, pinch of salt, and we need some cocoa, which I've got some here. 100 grams of cocoa. And then we're just going to blend it. All right, we went speed 5 for about 30 seconds, and then we're just going to scrape the sides down and make sure that everything got blended in. Now, I worked out last time that it's around about the 650 grams per tray to fill 2 brownie tins. All right, just going to spread it out in the tins, and then once the chicken's done, we'll stick this in the oven and cook these, and they cook for around about 30 minutes, I suppose, at the 180. Other thing I'm going to cook up for us for lunch for Darryl and I, because the kids are having their potatoes and stuff, is I had some thighs, mostly defrosted. They're still a little bit icy. I'm just going to rough chop them and put a bit of a seasoning on them and fry them off in some butter. And then I'll probably make that mayo for the kids, and we'll have some of that as well. So just grabbed half a dozen thighs, and checking there's a couple of bits of gristle in some of these. Garlic in there as well, and then I'm just going to fry this up. And Darryl, as I said, Darryl and I'll probably just have it with some mayo to dip it in, or whatever. So that is lunch. I'll show you the finished product. All right, so here's the kids' lunch. Chicken tenders, there's some cashew cheese, some mayo, lettuce, and tomatoes, and potato gems, and they have wraps, so they can eat it on wraps or as a salad or whatever else. And yeah, and then we just have all that, the chicken cooked up, and yeah, so that is lunch today. All right, Thursday dinner. I have the end of the rump left here, so I'm going to cut that up to make stroganoff, because we also have some mushrooms left that I never got to the freezer, and they are still fine. The beauty of that colder than normal bottom of the fridge. So all I'm going to do is cross grain, cut the rump into some pieces. I've got a couple of hours before we'll eat, so it will have time to cook down, but it is rump, so rump is pretty tender anyway, but I will cut it fairly small because I've left it awfully late in the afternoon. So fairly thin, fairly small pieces. I'm going to grab a bowl of some sort to salt and pepper it. All right, so I've got a couple of tablespoons of oil heated up. What we're going to do is we're going to cook off the beef in batches and brown it and put it aside, and then we'll cook the onions and stuff off in it. So Sonnet's going to put some in here gently, and maybe, yeah, another handful, maybe one more. And we'll just cook that off, brown it up, and then we'll transfer that out and do the next lot. And in the meantime, while she's doing that, I'll get some onions and stuff cut up. So I've got a couple of big onions here that I'm going to dice up, and I've got the mushrooms to cut up as well. All right, and the mushrooms, I'm just going to dice up. I'm going to cut them up fairly small because some of the kids are not real keen on mushrooms. I'm not a huge fan of mushrooms myself, but I don't mind them in stroganoff, but I don't really want big chunks either. So I'm going to dice them up fairly small. We'll get all the flavour of them and everything else, and all the, goodness, but not as many of the really big chunks. If it was just Darryl eating it, I could just halve them and he'd be happy. I wouldn't even need to slice them up. But I am less enamoured of the texture of mushrooms. So, and I know that a couple of the kids like them and a couple of the kids are not real keen on them either. So, but they do taste good in a stew like this. So, I'm going to dice these up, and then Sonnet's still doing the meat, so once she's done, I'll do the onion and the mushrooms and some garlic. Right, so all the meat's browned off. We've got the fat and stuff in there from the beef that's been cooked off, and now we're going to cook off the onion. We'll give this a little bit of a cook, and then we'll add the mushroom to it, and I'll cut up some garlic in the meantime. So Sonnet's going to stir that around for me. Alright, so we'll add the garlic and the mushroom, and we'll cook this off for sort of 10 or 15 minutes and let it all reduce. I just want to get it to the onions are a bit translucent, mushrooms reduced a little bit, and then we will add the beef back in and add more and add stock and stuff. It's going to be a heavy on the veggies and the beef because Darryl and I won't have it with anything. The kids might have it with mashed potato or rice. What do you want it with?
Mashed potatoes.
Mashed potatoes?
Because mashed potatoes is best.
So they can have it served over mashed potatoes, but Darryl and I will probably just have it as a stew. So I wanted to go fairly heavy on the main ingredients.
Do they know I love mashed potatoes?
I don't know, I probably mentioned it. Sonnet adores mashed potatoes. It's one of her favourite things. So we're just going to keep cooking this down for a little bit. We've got lots of colour on the onion and everything, so we're going to put the beef back in and all the juices. And then we'll just get that beef mixed through, heated back up, and I'm just on the hunt for the ingredients I need for the sauce. So, okay, I'm going to add a good slug of homemade Worcestershire sauce and just a heaped, spoonful, maybe 2 of those, of mustard, and then we're going to grab some water, so a big quart jar or half-gallon jar of water, another half one, and then I've got some beef stock powder here that I'm going to use. Yeah, we'll see. Yep. Alright, so now we're going to bring that up to a boil, and then we're going to reduce it to a simmer and get the lid on it and let it simmer for the next sort of hour and a half until that beef is lovely and tender. Right, I am going to thicken the stew a little bit. I'll show you. I've got some of the hot liquid here. I'm going to use cornstarch. It's not keto, but it only adds a couple of net carbs through the whole dish. So I'm going to do 2 tablespoons of cornstarch in that sort of 3/4 of a cup of liquid, and we're going to stir that up, and then we're going to introduce it back. I also will add some sour cream to Darryl's and mine, and the kids can add a little bit of coconut cream to theirs if they want. We have the potatoes on mashing too, so Sonnet's just mixing that up for me into a slurry.
Best daughter ever. Right?
Yep. So that liquid was hot out of here. We're just going to turn this up very slightly to make sure that there's plenty of heat while we reintroduce this in. And we're just going to stir this through. And then let it simmer for another sort of 5-10 minutes, and it'll thicken up. Yeah, we're waiting for the potatoes anyway. So yes, that does introduce a little bit of carbs to the dish, but it's nothing excessive, and Darryl and I really aren't that fussed on that sort of an issue. So leave that to simmer for a bit, turn it back down, it's on a nice heat, let that thicken up, and we'll cut up the brownies so that after dinner, when they have hot chocolate, they can have a bit of brownie. This is what they look like. I'm definitely happier with what I did today. I didn't cook them as long for a start, but I also I did those 3 nice big turkey eggs. So I think if I'm using chicken eggs, I might bump it to 5 eggs rather than 4, which, you know, isn't real convenient with the ratios. It is very wet in the middle, but I kind of want it to be It might be a little too wet to cut nicely though. One of the kids will enjoy that. But it's lovely and cakey and fudgy, and it's not as dry as the last one, so I'm happy with that. So there we go. That's what the kids are having. This is Apollo's plate, so I loaded it up with plenty of potato and a whole bunch of the stew over the top. Alrighty, Friday lunchtime. I'm going to do a bunch of scrambled eggs with some bacon and some leftover chicken. And there's also leftover stroganoff that could be heated and served as like a gravy. So that is lunch. But I think maybe we'll do pizza for dinner. So I need to make pizza dough as well for dinner tonight. So I will mix that up. I'll put the bacon on to cook. Get Sonnet to crack some eggs for me for scrambled eggs. And get the dough mixed up, I think. So let me get the bacon going first. All right, I'm just going to mix up my standard pizza dough. Darryl and I regularly have a cheat day on pizza night and just have plain pizza. We've tried a bunch of fathead doughs and the raw chicken and the cooked chicken, and really it just, if we're going to have pizza, then normal pizza is what we tend to go for. So we do about 20 grams of sugar. This just helps with the yeast, especially in the cooler temperature, and to brown the crusts up. So we're just doing 20 grams of sugar in there. We're going to do 700 grams of water. I've just taken the water warm. It's just lukewarm. I don't want it too hot, but I just want it warm enough to kickstart everything. So we're going to do 700 of that. And then we need our yeast. Do 10 grams of yeast. We're going to do some salt, about 30 grams of salt. And we're going to do 50 grams of oil. 50 grams of oil. And then we're going to add the flour, which is 1100 to 1150 grams of flour. It depends on the flour you're using and the temperatures and things like that. So I normally err on 1100 and then add a little bit extra if needed. And then we're just going to knead it up and put it aside, and I'll bring you back when I'm shaping it. Alrighty, so lunch is served. Darryl and I are just having the scrambled eggs with a bit of butter. There's a little bit of the chicken, a little bit of the bacon, a bit of the stroganoff. Everything else is heated up for the kids to serve as they want. And the dough is in a container to proof to shake, come back and shape. So that's lunch today, nice and simple. Alrighty, pizza dough is proofed, so we're going to divide it and put it in a container and in the fridge until we use it tonight. I'm just going to tip it all out. It's about 2 kilos of dough, because that's what I work all my ratios out on, which means that we have 8 bases at about 250 grams. Now, we obviously aren't using 8 bases anymore, but it is what I am used to, and so it's what I did. We need some semolina. This helps it to not stick, but also gives it crispy. I also just washed this container, so it's a little damp, so that will help with that. All right, let's divide this dough. Alrighty, so we have 8 balls of approximately 250 grams. All I'm going to do is shape them like I would a bun, a large bun, like that. Then roll them in the semolina in the tray, which you probably can't see there, but I'll show you at the end, and place them. So just balling them up like that, making them into a ball, rolling in semolina and placing. And just going to do that with all 8. Now these will sit in the fridge until about half an hour before I'm ready to do dinner. They will continue to proof to a degree in the fridge, but it will slow right down. And our fridge is pretty cold, so it slows down pretty quick. Ideally, I would have done this like yesterday and had it sitting in the fridge for 24 hours or whatever. Makes for a really nice tasty dough, but lately planning that far ahead has not been my forte, so it is what it is. I think I'm going to have to cook up some chicken for the top of it as well before I do them, because I think I've only got raw chicken in the fridge, and we use the pizza box, the Baker Stone pizza box on the barbecue, and so it's really nice and hot, which gives you a really good crust, but means you have to use pre-cooked toppings. It's not in there long enough to cook the toppings. So I'm going to just get all this done and into the fridge. So that's what we've got. Everything rolled in semolina, so it sticks a little bit less than it could. And we use this semolina on the pizza peel as well. So there we go. All right, we've got the crappy lighting as per usual, but it is 5:15. We're doing dinner, so we're doing the pizza that I prepared. So we have pizza peel and our dough, which is a lovely texture. Create our crust and then stretch to a nice round. It's alright, we can show one of the other ones that are...
Okay, sure.
You can if you want, it's here. First one just came out that I already did, so I said the lighting's pretty horrible here because that pole gets in the way. So that was the first one that came out. Now the kids are having some of the cashew cheese, but this cashew cheese wasn't made for pizza, so it doesn't like go very well on the top of the pizza. So what I'm doing is I'm just blobbing it together with the pizza sauce and then mixing it together as a cheesy, tomatoey base. So just like that. Now we've got heaps of the pepperoni at the moment, so we're doing a nice solid base of pepperoni. I cooked up some chicken breasts. All I did was fillet them and cook them off in some ghee with some salt and pepper. So we've got chicken breasts, we've got pineapple that I canned, we've got anchovies for the kids that like anchovies, and mushrooms for the kids that like mushrooms. So just doing that nice thick layer of that. We're going to have some of the home canned pineapple that I should, next time I can it, I should cut it into smaller pieces because I always end up breaking it up when I put it on the pizzas. And then we've got the chicken, so all I did was, as I said, I just filleted it and then cooked it off in some ghee, so it's just tender, it's just breast, it doesn't have a whole lot of flavour, but it's going on pizza, so it doesn't matter. And then some finely sliced mushroom for the couple of kids who like mushroom on their pizza. And then we just throw it in the pizza oven. Got sidetracked while I was cooking mine, which is always the last one, which always ends up being an issue, so I've burnt the crust, but that's fine. Less crust for me is not a bad thing. Pretty happy with how we've got it working now though, so that was tonight's dinner. Alrighty, it is Saturday morning and we're going to start off. The kids have already had cereal and stuff, so I will have gone over at the beginning of the video how that works here, but they've already had first breakfast. So what I'm actually doing them is basically second breakfast or first lunch, whichever way you want to look at it. So I'm going to cook them up a pancake bake. So we do these as a protein pancake bake. We use Greek yogurt, and we've been using about 400 grams of Greek yogurt, or one of my pint jars that are of the homemade stuff. We've just got some store-bought stuff from Hampers at the moment. I also use a jar of pureed berries. So this is just home canned pureed blueberries and strawberries, raspberries, whatever it is. It's just pureed berries with nothing else in it. We're going to add 6 eggs. We're going to add a pinch of salt. We don't add any sweetener here because we've got those mixed berries, but we're also adding the protein powder, which has sweeteners in it. So I'm just going to blend up the wet. So we've got protein powder here. I'm just using vanilla base on our macro mite because that's the choice of protein powders that I use. And we're going to use about 60 grams, which is 70 grams, 2-ish scoops of the protein powder in there, that vanilla flavoured one. We're going to use 350 grams of plain flour. And we're going to use about 20 grams of baking powder or a tablespoon. You could add some vanilla or any sort of flavouring that you want there, but we've got the berries and we've got the vanilla-based protein powder, so I don't find that particularly necessary. And then we're just going to mix it. Once it's all mixed up, I'm just going to scrape the sides, make sure everything is blended, and then I'm going to grab my baking tray. And there we go, basically a pancake batter, just in bulk. So now I'm going to grab a baking tray. Now, the kids have requested chocolate chips. We were doing chocolate chips in it, then I started adding the berries and stuff, and it doesn't really need it, but there's chocolate chips, so, you know, children, and there is some, so that's what they want. So I'm going to grab the chocolate chips out and the baking tray. All right, I just got a couple of handfuls of chocolate chips out of the freezer, and I'm just going to pour the batter into one of my cast iron baking trays. These are sort of an equivalent to a 9x13. And Sonnet's just going to sprinkle the chocolate chips over the top, and we will throw this in the oven. Alright, going in the oven. It takes around about 30-35 minutes at this size. Alright, seeing as I have a pizza base left because I'm so used to making 8 and we only needed 7, I'm going to do a breakfast pizza as the kids' other morning lunch thing. So I've got one base left here. It's still pretty chilly. I forgot to pull it out of the freezer, so I'll just be gentle with it when stretching it. And then the kids can share this as well as their pancake bake, and if they want other stuff, they can have other stuff. I think there's still beans out amongst other things. So there's a bit of pizza sauce and some cheese left still, so we'll do that, and we'll do pepperoni and just some egg, I think. I've got the pizza oven heating up at the moment, so we're just going to make sure we've got a little bit of a rim on this one because we don't want the egg to slide off. So I'm just making sure there's a bit of a dip at the center. Got pizza sauce and the cashew cheese blended together as the base sauce. We'll do a layer of the pepperoni like we did last night, and that will give the egg lots of nooks and crannies to slide into as well. Going to gently pour the egg over the top. I did whisk 2 eggs. We may not need 2, so you may not need to get all of it on there. Go from the center out, like let it. Yeah. With a little bit of the citrus salt, which is a good breakfast flavouring. A bit of rosemary, a bit of lemon zest, and a bit of salt. And now the challenge is going to be to get this off the peel into the pizza oven without spreading that egg everywhere. Alright, for Darryl and I, I've still got some of this semi-frozen thighs that really need to be used up, so I think I'm just going to slice it all up and marinate it and fry it off, and we can have it with some egg or something for lunch. But it needs to be used. I had originally defrosted this bag to can some butter chicken, and I just didn't get there, but there is still one more bag in the freezer, so that will be the plan for that bag. Alrighty, so breakfast pizza looks pretty good to me, and they can put some mayo on it as well. There's fresh cooked mayo, so fresh made mayo, so they can drizzle some mayo and then have breakfast pizza, and then we'll have the pancake bake soon. Alright, and I've got the chicken. I'm just going to put the end of this cowboy candy jar in there, and then I'm going to use some of the bacon seasoning because I don't have the garlic powder and stuff. It still hasn't arrived, so I'm going to use just a generous sprinkle of that and some extra black pepper, a spoonful of Dijon, and I'm going to add a little bit of oil, I think. I might add a bit of extra paprika by the looks of the colour of it. There we go. I love paprika, so I use it pretty heavily, considering I don't like capsicums. Anyway, so there we go, the colour's better there. It's very cold. So now I'm just going to heat up all my pans and just start cooking it off in bulk. Pancake is done. I have been having some issues with the middle being not quite done when I first think it's done, but looks good today. So I'm just going to cut this up, and the kids can help themselves to this as well, and then they can have some fruit or something a bit later if they need something else. Alrighty, Daryl and I are just going to have some pickles, some eggs, and the chicken that I just cooked up. So this was all the chicken that was left. We're just going to have that with some mayo and call it good. The rest of the chicken I will put in the fridge, and we'll do something with it probably tomorrow. I think I've got those leftover chicken breasts from yesterday, so I'll probably do green curry for dinner tonight using those. Now that these are cooked, they get another few days in the fridge. Where are we? Mayo. So this is the homemade mayo. Sonnet made this one. It ended up extraordinarily thick, which isn't a bad thing. It's almost like a big whipped mayo. So a bit of the homemade mayo on there, and cracker pepper on the eggs, and we're good. So there we go. It is 1:30, so I thought I'm going to make myself a fresh coffee, but I thought I'd also make a snack, so for the kids and everyone, and me as well. So I'm doing some popcorn. Now we just do it on the stove, about 1.5 cups of popcorn seeds in a pot with some oil, lid on, and that's all we do. And we add some ghee and some seasoning to this. We have chicken salt that the kids really like, some salt and vinegar powder as well, or I make some sort of seasoned salt sometimes too, but kettle popped popcorn. We do sweet and salty sometimes, though, I'm not doing carbs at the moment much, so less so. And I do find that sweet and salty, it is a challenge if you're doing it in the pan, like with the sugar in the pan and stuff, and it's very easy to burn, so sometimes it just seems like a waste of time. So we're just going to do some savoury stuff, and I'm going to make coffee too. So popcorn for the afternoon. Alright, Saturday night's dinner, we're going to do a really simple green curry. I've made it quite a few times on here. I've got about 1 kilo of rice in here, water up to the second knuckle in the top. I don't rinse my rice or anything like that. I just put it in here, put the water in, put a lid on it. We're going to bring it up to a boil. Once it's on a boil, turn it down to simmer for about 15 minutes, and then I will add a tin of coconut cream to it to make it coconut rice. I also put some coconut milk powder into the water while it's cooking, like you would add, chicken stock or whatever else. And then sometimes I add that tin of coconut cream at the end, sometimes I don't. It really just depends on the texture of it and how it's ended up and things like that. We're out of fresh vegetables for the month, so we will use just a bag of frozen, and I've got these breasts that need using that I have defrosted. So all I'm going to do is fillet them and then slice them up into chunks, and we will cook these off for the curry. Alright, so green curry, as I said, I've made it plenty of times here before, but we go super simple. I use this Maisery green curry paste or the Valcom stuff. It's whatever works out best price wise, and the kids have been complaining that it's been a bit hot lately, so I'm going to use about 2/3 of the tin instead of the whole tin. and put it in a bit of oil, and we're going to cook that off. Once we've done that, we're going to add about half a tin of coconut cream, and we're going to cook that off until you can see the oils floating to the top. And then we just add our chicken. This was about 4 breasts, so maybe a kilo's worth of chicken. And we get that mostly cooked off. Alright, it's not completely cooked through, but it's now like white on the outside, so it's only raw in the middle. From this point, all I do is I add a bag of frozen veg. This is our veg of choice. So a kilo of frozen veg in here. I'm going to add the rest of the tin of coconut cream and potentially another one or some stock if I need more liquid. But the veggies, as they cook, they release a lot of liquid as well. So sometimes if I add too much now, we end up with too much overall. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it down very slightly to sort of a medium-high heat and put a lid on it, and that will steam those veggies. And then I'll come back and I'll stir those veggies into the sauce. And the rice has just started to boil, so I will turn that down shortly, and then pretty much this meal is done. So I'll bring you back at the end. I forgot, I do add a couple of other things. We have some lime juice, we have some fish sauce, generous, just sort of a squeeze of that, and a little sprinkle of sugar, a couple of teaspoons of sugar, and a dash of soy sauce. Drizzle of soy sauce. Then let that lemon juice dissolve, spread through, and that's pretty much done. So the veggies are steamed. Not quite cooked all the way through, but they're close. So by the time that lime juice dissolves, that should be done. So we're just gonna let that go, and the rice has about 10 minutes to go, so they'll all be ready at the same time. I am going to cook up a bag of veggie rice as well for Darryl and myself. I've been having just a small portion of rice mixed with the veggie rice to cut down on the carbs but still have the, the idea of rice. So I've got a pan with some oil heating up, and I'll just fry this off for that as well. Alright, so there we go. Green chicken curry, all sorted. Coconut rice, nice and fluffy and coconutty. And we've got the cauliflower broccoli rice that I have used in a seasoned pan, so it's a bit coloured but nice and tasty for having with the curry as well. And that's dinner for tonight. The kids still have marshmallows and homemade hot chocolate for dessert if they want it, so they're all sorted. So everyone will just serve themselves, and I'll leave that one there for today. It is Sunday morning, so I have just put a pancake bake in the oven, the same as yesterday, because it was requested by the twins who are home from church, and I filmed doing that for my Sunday chat. But I'm going to do French bread. I'm going to try and do those little ones that I managed to do the other day, and we'll have bolognese for dinner. So I'm just going to mix up a batch of that French bread. Water warmed up in the kettle because it's cool, and we just want to get these started. So it's just warmer than room temperature. 600 grams of water, and then we're going to do 20 grams of yeast. Going to do 50 grams of sugar. You can reduce this, a teaspoon's good, at least 5 grams is good, because it helps the yeast have something to eat, but the 50 grams also helps give the crust a really nice browning, and you've got that slightly sweet flavour to it, which French bread normally is. And I'm going to turn these into garlic bread, so that little bit of a sweet hint to it is always really nice. We can do about 20 grams of salt. My salt is empty. I swear that it's empty every time I go to use it. So we're going to do 20 odd grams of salt. We're going to do 100 grams of oil. And then we're just going to do a kilo of flour. Alrighty, we're just going to knead this to a shaggy dough, put it in a container and let it double, and then I'll bring you back when I am shaping it. Alrighty, we have pancake bake. Alright, so my dough has well and truly doubled, so we're good. So now I'm going to just plop it all out like that, and then we're going to attempt these baguette style things that I did last time, but in the smaller, slightly thicker style. So let's see if I can replicate it. 90 grams may just be not enough to work with to get that shape, so I might do some in the 90 grams and some slightly bigger, and we'll see how we go. So all I'm going to do is do these all up. I'll let them proof again. I'll score them. I'll bake them, and then they can be garlic bread to have with bolognese for dinner tonight. So that is that. I still haven't done lunch as such. They're not back from the from church yet, so they haven't had pancake bake. But Darryl and I will need actual lunch. There is plenty of chicken from yesterday in the fridge, so I assume I will do something with that, but I'll let you know when I get to it. That one worked a bit better. The dough seemed to be a little bit more malleable. So we're gonna give it a go anyway. So I'm just gonna keep going with all those. I'll bring you back when I figure out lunch. Alrighty, Sunday night dinner. We have bolognese, frozen, semi-defrosted, a jar of the pasta sauce that I canned the other week. And I'm going to put a little bit of water in this to wash this. A little bit of water as well to rinse out the jar, but also so that we've got enough liquid on the bottom that this defrosts without burning, because it's not quite defrosted. So you're going to put this on low heat, let this get going. I will put a pot on of water for the pasta, and then I'll show you the buns and stuff from today. So Darryl heated up lunch. I'll put a photo in here because I was at my desk. He brought it to me at my desk. So we had leftover green curry with some of the leftover chicken as well. The kids had some of the leftover chicken with some wraps as well as the pancake bacon stuff. So I kind of forgot I had these in the oven. But they turned out right. Some of them are a little browner than they should be, but they turned out right. And the little shape is kind of neat. So some of them better than others. I didn't pull them off the rack myself, so I didn't see. There was some variations in how I shaped them. And I'm thinking that these ones were all from the same set, and where I actually shaped these a bit more like how I'd shape a boulet, and they did more of a split and stuff. So anyway, these are the rolls. Now I do have some garlic butter in the freezer somewhere, some pre-made stuff, and I have no idea where, and I just can't be bothered trying to find it at the moment. So I'm just probably going to mix up some Nuddle Eggs with a little bit of garlic and salt, and I'll put some on these and I'll grill them, warm them up in the oven as garlic bread. All right, I'm actually going to use ghee, not Nuddle Eggs, because it's nice and soft, which will make my life a bit easier. So I'm just going to scoop a generous amount of ghee, because what I don't use can go in the fridge to use tomorrow. We're going to do a generous salt because the ghee is not salted, obviously. Like if we were using salted butter, it would be salted. And then just some minced garlic in there, just like that. And we've just got this really basic garlic butter, but that will be tasty on the rolls. And then I just have to decide how I want to do them. Maybe I'll do a couple of cuts and then butter in between, and the inside will stay nice and soft, but the outside will crisp up. So a bit like I would normally do the standard garlic bread, not quite going all the way through to the bottom, just like that, and coating the inside with the garlic butter mix, just like that. I think that's what I'm going to do, and then put them on a baking tray and warm them up. So dinner tonight, I'm actually having some of the kids' pasta with some cheese and one of the breads. I'm going to have another sort of bad meal, but that's fine. So we've got bolognese with angel hair and the little mini garlic breads, which are very, very cool. So that's what the kids are having for dinner as well, but with nutritional yeast, not cheese. And Darryl's just having some of the bolognese soup, basically with some cheese on top, a bit like lasagna soup, but without the noodles.